Real quick before this video starts, about half the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so if you fall into that 50%, then subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to hit 25k soon, so subscribe. Also drop a like, helps. You know the drill. Also, real quick, there's a new episode of my podcast out now where we had TSO Sage on as a guest, and it's one of our better episodes, so go check that one out. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the games that happened tonight. So I only watched 3 games today. I almost always watch like 4 or 5 just by default, but for the most part, the games that I didn't watch were not all that close. Although the OKC versus Blazers game, I didn't watch that, and it did end up being close, but I didn't come in late for that one. That come in late, that's a great phrase. So the games that I watched today were Nuggets versus Celtics, Bucks versus Raptors, and Nets versus Suns. So let's first talk about this Nuggets versus Celtics game. I don't know what his first name is, Campazzo, something like that. He's my favorite, like, not great player in the NBA. He's just so fun. He's like 5'2" and fast and a great passer, but like a complete defensive liability, and his offense is inconsistent. But you know what? He's fun, so who gives a shit? This game was a little bit odd. Jokic kind of just casually walked into what was his total points in this game. I believe he was at 50 or close to 50. I know he had 40 plus. He had 43 on 70% shooting. Like, holy shit. And despite scoring 43 points, his team lost by 13 points, as the Nuggets only scored 99 points. I considered making the title of this video about the Nuggets, but I was like, I already did the title on the Nuggets like a week ago, so I'm going to let it slide. But I want this team to make a trade. I just feel like this team has hit its ceiling, and if you can make a trade for a star-level player or maybe figure out a way to round out your roster with defense, then that's something the Nuggets should consider doing. If Bradley Beal is available, then Jamal Murray for Bradley Beal, I do that in a heartbeat. No questions asked. Anyways, outside of that, Aaron Nesmith got to play today, which he has not gotten much opportunity thus far, and in the time that he has played, he hasn't done it very well. He got 24 minutes today. He grabbed oh, okay, never mind. I got very confused. I looked at the box score and it said 12 rebounds. I was like, what? I was looking at Tristan Thompson. He shot the ball well. He had this 1-3 coming off of a curl on the left side that he just shot it right over his defender with complete and utter confidence, and it dropped. So that was nice to see. So he looked pretty good in his time. Michael Porter Jr. I don't know what it, I keep saying I don't know what his stats are. Let me pull this up for sure. Oh my God. So my eyes did not deceive me. In 24 minutes, Michael Porter was 0 for 8 and 0 for 5. To start this game, he was taking pretty reckless shots, and I was like, dude, you need to stop taking these shots like it's not contested, because it's definitely contested. Like, I appreciate the confidence, but he airballed like 2 of them, and it was not a pretty game for Michael Porter Jr., and that's not great considering that Jokic poured his all into this one, and Jamal Murray had a good game. They really needed that third guy to score, and Michael was just not doing that today. But yeah, this game was kind of bog standard for the most part, outside of the Nuggets struggling to score outside of Jokic and Murray. Other than that, like the Celtics, they had a pretty regular game. I will say it seems like Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker, it's impossible for them to have a good game at the same time. Although this time around, actually, at the end of the game, Kemba kind of had a not great game as well. It's not as bad as it's been in the past, but he didn't shoot that well. So maybe they are both capable of having a bad game at the same time. Jaylen Brown was great as always. It seems like Jaylen Brown never has a bad game, so that's the one consistent thing for the Celtics. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this game. Bucks versus Raptors. Unfortunately, some of the portion of this game, I'd say probably like 30%, I was not able to pay full attention because I was trying to do my taxes, and then I got to the point doing taxes that I gave up and decided I'm going to do it next day or another day. Honestly, I've been saying that for like 2 weeks and I still haven't done them. So we'll see how that goes. But this game, not full attention for the whole time, but I did definitely catch like the last half of this game full attention. The Raptors took an early lead in the first quarter, which the Bucks came back from, and then the Raptors once again took a lead, and then it kind of felt like the Bucks were playing catch up for this entire game. Weird little bit in this game. So for the first like 2.5, 3 quarters, Middleton shot the ball like 4 times, and to close this game, he had only shot the ball 8 times in total. So That was odd. I will say it wasn't entirely Middleton just not getting good looks. There were a couple of times where it was like, you should be a little bit more aggressive right now, and he hasn't. But also, it didn't seem like his teammates were entirely looking for him. That was definitely odd. That's not something that happens normally. Middleton, otherwise, having a great season. But if I had to guess, I'd say this is probably the worst game he's had this year, unless I'm just missing some obvious example in my head, but I don't believe that I am. So it was weird. Like, why are you only shooting the ball 8 times? Pat Connaughton, he had 18 points in the first half and 2 in the second, so that streak went away rather fast. I did think it was funny though, because every time I talk about the Bucks, I talk about how I don't understand why Pat Connaughton gets so many minutes, but hey, he had a good game here. I'm putting down the note here. If I have to watch one more Bucks game with Giannis not being used in the pick and roll, I might lose my fucking mind. I will say for the past couple of Bucks games, Drew Holiday has not been there, and it makes me less enraged when Drew's not there because, hey, the playmaking outside of Middleton is not very good, so I guess. But, like, please stop using Giannis as an ISO player who just dribbles into the paint. Like, he's not bad at that. But if you have him do just that, it really reduces the potential impact that he can have. And you're going to see that in the playoffs again. I guarantee you, playoffs come around, Giannis is going to once again dribble into a crowded paint, and it's not going to go very well. Also, I've talked about Giannis as a center. Bobby Portis playing alongside Giannis, I love to see that because Bobby plays the stretch 4 role, and Giannis is essentially the center. He might not be listed as the center in that lineup. It's probably Bobby, but I can tell you he plays more of a center's role on both ends of the court as a rim protector and as an interior presence on offense. So that's good to see. Still wasn't using the fucking pick and roll, but the Bucks did end up losing this game. The Raptors played a really solid game all around. It was mostly a team effort. Fred VanVleet had a good game. I put as a note here that Fred is well worth his contract. I feel like there's a good amount of people who didn't like the contract he got, but I was like, $20 million a year for Fred VanVleet, that sounds about right to me. And he had a great game here. But otherwise, pretty bog standard game as well. What was not a bog standard game was Nets versus Suns. This was a game that I was very excited about until I learned that both Kyrie and KD would not be playing. I did not know about that until I literally turned on this game. So that was a little bit rough. But it ended up being the best game of the night, at least the one that I saw. So the Nets defense in the first half was comically bad. I was literally laughing. There was one possession in particular where they finally had forced the Suns to not get a great look, late into the shot clock. Devin Booker drives baseline, jumps up, throws a crazy pass to Jay Crowder, and Jay Crowder kind of fumbles it, which is oh, you finally got a good possession defensively. And then I don't know who it was, but whoever was defending Booker just completely went after Crowder. And then Crowder gets the ball, passes it right back to Booker, who's wide open for a 8-foot jump shot that was easy to make, easy to put in. So that it was some comically bad defense. That play literally made me burst out laughing. Other than that, I mean, the second half, there's a case to be made that the Nets played harder on defense, but I would argue it was more so the Suns were just kind of missing shots. But the defense definitely got a little bit better. I'll give them that credit, but I think it was more the missed shots than it was the good defense. Landry Shamet and Joe Harris played a big part in this team making a comeback. Spoiler alert, they made a comeback. You would think it was mostly James Harden. I mean, I guess it still was mostly James Harden, but a lot of the Nets role players came to play in this one. Shamet's hitting threes. He started this season off really rough. He was starting to look like a complete scrub. He was hitting his shots. In this game, Joe Harris, anytime that man shoots it, I just assume that shit's going to drop. Tyler Johnson with 17 points. I'll be honest, every time I see Tyler Johnson on the floor, I want to throw up because he's fucking hideous, but not that I can talk too much. Landry Shamet with 13 points in this game, 3 for 6 from 3. Joe Harris, 22 points, 4 for 9 from 3. 8 for 13 overall, which was very good. DeAndre Jordan continued to not be great, but that's how it is. Jeff Green, small ball center Jeff Green. I'm telling you, I'd rather that than DeAndre Jordan. And he had 18 and 8 in this game, and he hit a couple of clutch shots down the stretch. Joe Harris hit a clutch shot down the stretch, and to close, also I put down as a note here that Chris Paul is incredibly clutch because he was hitting a lot of shots. If the Nets, as they made their comeback, it felt like Chris Paul kept evading them off with just I'm going to walk down the court and hit a pull-up three-pointer. He ended up finishing this game with 29 points on 12 for 20 shooting. But it was the Nets that won this game because after Chris Paul hit yet another big shot, to make it a 2-point game. James Harden walked down the court and with about 30 seconds left on the clock, just pulled up from three. Didn't even care. No regard for the defense. Just pulled up at the top of the key. That one dropped. And the next play, the Suns had an opportunity to tie it up. Devin Booker had Shamet on him. He was trying to post him up because there was a play earlier where Devin Booker completely bodied Shamet in the post. And I was like, why was there no help defense on that play? Like, the reason why is because the Nets defense sucks. But this time, he was not able to body him into a layup. Instead, just a short jump shot, which I would say Devin Booker probably makes like 60, maybe even 65% of the time, considering the contest wasn't all that great. But it just didn't go in. So that was definitely a lucky break for the Nets, and then it just became free throws, and that was the end of the game. So that was definitely an interesting one. The title of this video is going to be, I don't know what to make of the Nets. I mean, that kind of speaks for itself. Leg switch. Defensively, they had a better half. But the reason I don't know what to make of the Nets is that it seems like we've seen very few games of Harden, Kyrie, and KD together. I almost feel like, I mean, you know, they've had injuries and shit, but like, I almost feel like the Nets, like some of the players, and especially those three, are like, you know, we have three of the most talented offensive players in the league. If we miss a game, it's not a huge deal. And that's true. I would just be concerned about them not getting enough games as a trio together, that when it comes time for them to really put it together as a big three, there might be some awkwardness when it comes time for the playoffs. Hopefully they can be healthy long enough together to where they can really get their runs in together. I don't know how many games they've actually played in total together. If I had to guess, I'd say it's less than 10. I mean, I'm not even sure James Harden has officially played 10 games with the Nets. He probably has, and I sound like an idiot right now. But it's somewhere in that ballpark, and it seems like one or two of them are out of the lineup all the time, usually just one. But hopefully they can get healthy and put their shit together, so at the very least offensively they can be just completely in sync. And I mean, they've been statistically the greatest offense of all time when the three of them have played together. So ceiling on that one is rather high, at least on the offensive end of the court. Defensively, they need to trade for Al Horford. Don't care what you say. Don't care if you don't like his contract. Don't care if you don't like that he's old. Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan for Al Horford. Make it happen. The OKC Thunder can flip Joe Harris for a first-round pick, so that's essentially a first-round pick for Al Horford. They'd be satisfied with that. Al Horford would completely overhaul this defense. Anyways, that's what I had to say about the games tonight. Subscribe to this channel. I'm doing 6 days a week post-game reactions on here, and every Sunday doing hot take reactions. So, you know, if that's something you're interested in, then you should probably subscribe here. If not, well then, I don't know why you're watching to this point. Like, why would you be watching this late into the video if you don't care? If you did watch this late into the video, comment. What should you comment? Just comment. Just comment the word comment. All right. Hopefully YouTube doesn't think that's spam. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Bye.